Yeah, it's a very exciting time in the gas industry and particularly the LNG industry, because indeed demand for gas is growing faster than demand for energy. And demand for energy is growing even faster than demand for gas. We see overall the gas markets growing around 2% per year, and the LNG markets are about 5% per year. So if you take today's LNG market of 240 million tons, we can see that growing to 435 million tons by 2025. Which is a very substantial amount of growth for such a big market. The growth is quite well balanced globally, so it's become from a market that was quite focused on a number of countries, around 10 importers by the turn of the century, to about 50 importers by 2030, which is really quite revolutionary. By 2030, almost every economy in the world will be either importing or exporting LNG. And the demand growth happens in many different places. In South America, we see demand picking up and sustainably. Europe, as the gas supply goes down, the domestic gas supply goes down in Europe, it will need to attract more LNG in order to power the continent. But the biggest demand growth is east of the Suez Canal, in Asia, in the Middle East, where just the enormity of economic growth, of people coming out of poverty, into the middle classes in Africa and in India, and as it already happened in China, is really creating demand growth that requires a lot of extra LNG to come to the shores of these countries to help power the economies. What really needs to happen for gas to completely fulfill that destiny is a few things. First of all, we need regulators in countries to really regulate energy markets in a way that drive cleaner energy consumption in the right way, that promote the use of renewables in combination with gas as the long-term energy mix that's going to power their economies, not only in an affordable but also in a responsible way. So there's a lot of work for regulators to be done, but also a lot of work for the industry to be done in order to make sure that the cost of gas and the cost of LNG are competitive enough that economies don't regret choosing gas and LNG as they move on their journey. So the industry needs to work on its cost, the industry needs to build new projects, and if the demand is then there in the countries that need the gas, then I think it will all come together. So the gas industry needs to really get its story together as to why it is the preferred energy source over coal. And the basics are quite easy to convey. The CO2 footprint of gas is 50% lower than coal when it comes from well to wire. The air pollution footprint of gas is more than 90% lower than coal, and I just came from a visit to Beijing and also going around the rest of Asia. You know how big air pollution, how big a problem air pollution is. And then there's an element of availability. We have more than 200 years of gas in front of us, so we can really safely and securely choose gas as a source of energy for the long term. So the industry needs to tell that story with a lot of coherence, but also with a lot of passion, because the other energy sources will have their own passionate advocates. And I think the gas industry has for too long sat back and thought the product would sell itself. Apart from that, as I said before, the cost of gas needs to be controlled. We need to be an affordable energy source. And I think the whole value chain, including contractors, regulators and producers, has a job to do to get the cost of gas to come down so that it's really affordable, not only for developed economies, but also for developing economies. We believe natural gas will be a very important source of energy by 2050 for the world, and Shell will aim to be a leading energy supplier by 2050. So it is obvious that gas will be a very important energy source by then for us. But rather than dream about how important gas will be in 2050 for Shell, it's good to note that already today Shell has more than 50% of its hydrocarbon production in gas. And it has made some important portfolio transactions in the recent past. We bought Repsol's LNG activities, and of course this year we announced a combination with BG to further improve our footprint and our portfolio on the gas supply. So Shell is committed to gas right now and will certainly be committed to gas by 2050.